Good afternoon, evening, morning to whoever you are in the world, and welcome to another Nerd Nation podcast. We are talking about the legendary Gene Roddenberry. His birthday was just a few days ago, and he would have been 99 this year if he was still with us. But he did leave something long lasting, and that was Star Trek. And we're going to be talking about his legacy, everything he created, and everything beyond his creation, which has been continued by others. Today, we have my usual partner in crime, Roberto, aka Commander Cheeto. He's changed his name. I can't believe it. Hell has frozen over.
For
And
once.
now becoming a regular with us, Mr. Buck Crimes himself. Unfortunately, his missus is asleep. She was dying to join us, but we still have Mr. Buck Crimes. Welcome, Buck Crimes.
Hey guys, what's up?
Nice to see you, mate. So, as we all know, a few days ago, I think it was almost a week ago, but nevertheless, Gene Roddenberry would have been 99. And what this man has created is beyond imagination. Um, when it comes to television media, like some of the stuff which has come from his mind that has ended up on film, ended up on TV, is amazing. He's created almost like the most amazing legacy on television when it comes to science fiction ever. I don't think any sci-fi at this moment in time, including Star Wars, and obviously nothing else comes close to that, can come close to Star Trek when it comes to the amount of television shows they've created, the amount of movies they've created, and everything else in between, video games and stuff. Most of it usually stems from the television, but Roddenberry, my God, who would have thought that? I don't think he would have thought that when he first created Star Trek that it would have ended up with something like Picard, as well as Lower Decks, as well as Discovery and all of this other stuff, which weren't from his imagination, but nevertheless are still Star Trek. These are fans who've created these things. So, without me yabbering on too much, I do apologize. Let's initially talk about Gene Roddenberry and how you guys initially feel about him and what you feel he's done for yourself personally. I'll start with you, cousin Cheeto. Gene Roddenberry, my friend.
I mean, Gene Roddenberry was one of those influential not characters, but like people growing up. I mean, you always knew Star Trek was Roddenberry. Like it's kind of like Kevin Feige in the MCU. Like Roddenberry's name is just as synonymous with Star Trek as it is, Kevin Feige with the MCU.
George Lucas with Star Wars.
And George Lucas with Star Wars. Yes, that's another good one. But I mean, the one thing about Star Trek is that he made it it was his vision for mankind, and one of the things that I really gravitated towards and appreciated was that he had hope for mankind. And one of the things that I hope, I mean, even though it's completely almost not even achievable, I mean, like no money, utopia. And I mean, they, and after his passing, they do address some of these issues on how a lot of this stuff is just not possible with the human race, which I understand. But at the same time, I mean, if you look at the original series and you look at early TNG and even the early movies, you can just see that Roddenberry had this vision of the human race only wanting to work to better itself. And I mean, that is something that I would love to see for actual mankind. And I mean, although I don't see it happening because, most people out there are just all about themselves. And I mean, that's not a bad thing, only because that's just how society is centered. But if we ever got to a point where society was not so self-centered and it was more of a collaborative effort for everybody to get better, the saying is that, the rising tide raises all ships. And, and that's a good saying by the great Kingpin from Daredevil himself. I mean, if he's saying it, it's got to make sense. But it's true. Like, you're only, the cliche lines, you're only as strong as your weakest link. you're only as fast as your slowest runner. Like all of these phrases, it just screams, we want something better. And the only way to get there is together, and to not, it's not about your bank account numbers. It's not about, how many cars you have. It's about how the lowest form of humanity, what is the lowest form of humanity, and that is where you're at. Because if your bar is, if your bar is set way too low, then you're not reaching high enough. So I don't know, it's weird to explain. Roddenberry and Star Trek have been involved in my life since I was little. My dad watched it, I watched it. And I mean, my one big takeaway from Roddenberry, and I know I'm going to get chastised for this, but was he that great of a writer / producer? Not incredibly, but I admire the man for his vision. And I mean, and there's a lot of stuff in the original series, and even Next Gen that Roddenberry had his hands in, that it's just like, what, why are we doing this? But as a TV show sense. But if you look at it at the Star Trek, the original series, set so many trends and precedents back in the day that, the first iteration, he didn't care. He wanted all nationalities on the bridge. He had the first interracial kiss on TV because he believed that everybody was equal in a time when people were not. So I don't know. Now I'm dragging on too long, but that's just, that's kind of my history with Gene Roddenberry, is just that, his vision is something that I admire more than just himself. Star Trek is just kind of that vessel in which he delivered that vision. And,
Yep, I understand. Before I pass on to you, Buck Crumb, I just want to say regarding things like different races and stuff like that. Nowadays, stuff like that will be looked upon as woke. A lot of shit back in Star Trek in the past, people will be looking at it as liberal agenda and all of this shit, and it's far from it. I like the fact that they have representation. I'm a part of that. You have people sometimes wonder. People have no idea how popular Star Trek is with ethnic minorities. That we fucking love it because we all feel a part of it. This is just not one for one group. This is for everybody, and that's what makes Star Trek so great. But Crimes, on to you, mate. Gene Roddenberry, what you got to say?
Well, with Gene Roddenberry, his vision of Star Trek, it's how humanity should be, really. It's just where the natural progression, as he saw it going, wound up. And it would be awesome if humanity could do something like that. And hopefully they will. But I don't know. We got a lot of stupid infighting and idiocy floating around right now that's going to throw a huge monkey wrench in something like a Star Trek style future. We're starting to take the right step here and there, but we're doing a lot of stumbling on the way too.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think basically what you're trying to say is that they're trying to carry Star Trek onto a new audience, possibly, but at the same time, they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Well, I'm not really saying new audience, so to speak. I'm saying more like trying to have art, have life imitate art, almost. For instance, like with the Space Force we've got going on right now. Look at the logo for Space Force. What does that look like? Looks like an intercom badge, almost.
Oh, you mean like it's Trump's Space Force?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. I was thinking Star Trek too.
Anyway,
what to say, mate? Yeah.
Actually, I do want to say one little thing before we go over. I think that given the fact that our civilization would be more closely related to the Ferengi than the actual Federation, kind of worries me a little bit.
More like the Ferengi.
Oh yes, I think as we are right now, we're more like the Ferengi.
I
honestly, at least the Ferengi are kind of upfront about it. We're just shady, there was an episode of Deep Space Nine, and not that I want to get on this tangent, but Quark actually explains the human race very well, and I wish I have these clips at
I
at
saw
my
that.
fingertips.
I saw that episode. That was the one where they go back in time. Is that one?
I think so, because he's like,
They
you
go
look
back
at,
into like 1950s Roswell and shit like that.
Oh yeah, and they
Area
just
51. Yeah.
but there's one where I don't think that's it. I think it's one that's in present time. I don't think they go back in time in that episode. But I mean, Quark basically calls the human race out on their past, and he's like, you sit there and you judge us, but yet, here's all the stuff that the human race has done in the past.
Oh yes, I remember
And-
what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they were at the Quark's bar when they were saying that.
They were talking Quarks.
And I think it was Cisco and Quark going back and forth, I think.
Yep,
But
you're correct.
I mean, it's just there's
Brian. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it was one of those. But I mean, it was a great scene, and it's just like, and I mean, but at least the Ferengi are upright about it. But anyway, back onto Roddenberry. Sorry, I didn't mean to tangent.
No, actually, I think we're a bit. I've never been a big fan of the Kardashians. I know they had a bigger involvement in DS9, but I always thought they were very similar to the Romulans in their ideology and everything about them. They felt like another version of the Romulans. But I actually feel that if human beings were out there, not only would they be like Ferengi, but they would also be a bit like the Romulans and the Kardashians, and maybe even elements of the Klingons as well. So. Yeah, but regarding our own ideology of being humans, no, we would be nothing like Star Trek, even if we wanted to, because there's a large demographic, there's a large enough group of people who would always stop us from reaching that utopia, and that's what's unfortunate about our society. But let's not be too much of a downer here. Roddenberry obviously initially created Star Trek, but as much as it was quite diverse and stuff, it really was the Captain Kirk show. I mean, he shagged everyone. He was fighting everyone. You did have moments where maybe Spock might be front and center and stuff like that, and maybe Sulu might get away from his pilot chair, and maybe Chief Scott, he might be sitting in the captain's chair for a bit of an episode, but it was always about Captain Kirk. But when they went on to Next Generation, and you don't mind me jumping onto TNG, no, do you? Are you okay with that?
Oh yeah, go right ahead, man.
Yeah. Bless
TNG
you, Roberto.
TNG is still Roddenberry Star Trek.
Yeah. So one of the things I liked about TNG was that everyone had moments. The whole cast, it wasn't just about the captain. It could be about the engineer, it could be about the doctor, it could be about one of the pilots, it could be about the security officer. Usually it was always about the same group of people, but it wasn't the person, like the episode's focus wasn't always about the person who was in charge, and that's what made those episodes so interesting. It was diverse, so much more was explored. Things about cultures were explored, because when it comes to cultures, they can only really use our cultures to kind of expand on. When it comes to alien cultures, there's so many similarities. All monks seem to be the same all over the fucking universe. They all seem to have candles in their fucking caverns and wear hoods and shit when it comes to being a monk of any type. You know what I mean?
Also, they only had so much to be using the costume budget, so you had that there too.
Man, that costume budget was so fucked that when they made Star Trek Generations, the movie, they had to use some of their TNG wardrobe.
And Deep Space Nine.
Yep.
And Deep
they
Space
did
Nine.
use a bit of Deep Space Nine in there too.
I think they said that Riker was wearing Cisco's. I think
Cisco's
uniform. Like, so when you see Riker in Generations, just think, wow, Cisco wore that uniform like the day before.
Yeah.
Also, I just wanted to cut in too. If you notice it, they actually tackled this in the show. They talk about the Klingons, how basically the Klingons were in the original series were wearing blackface basically, and they actually had the prosthetics in the Next Generation. And Worf talks about that a little bit.
Well, Next Generation under Roddenberry did make that one atrocious episode that Jonathan Frakes, aka Will Riker, actually said was a racist piece of shit of an episode. is the one where they came across this alien race where everyone was black, and
Wakanda forever.
it was, and like, but they were very like that savage tribal mentality and stuff like that, and they're like fighting over the white woman, and I was like, oh my god, like you watch it now, it's like I can't believe Star Trek would make an episode like that, but everyone fucks up once in a while. They acknowledge.
Nobody can be perfect.
You remember? Do you know what episode I'm talking about? All those black guys.
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Oh my god! And they were going after Tasha Yar, weren't they?
They were
lusting after her.
I'm trying to look up. I'm trying to look up who actually wrote that episode right now.
Oh man!
Because I don't think Roddenberry signed off on it, but but it really should have been caught way sooner than it actually was.
So
was Roddenberry dead by then, though?
No, I forgot. Actually, you're gonna have to forgive me on this, but when he died, you're gonna have to research on that, and you got to tell me what his last project was, because I have a feeling it's Voyager, because things like Enterprise onwards does not feel like Roddenberry at all.
No, Roddenberry died in the second season of TNG.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 1991. Okay. He was. Yeah, Jesus Christ. He was out early.
Damn. Shows you how much I know. I thought. I mean, you see the info. You see when you watch Deep Space Nine and you watch Voyager, you can feel the entire TNG influence on both of those shows.
Well, you gotta understand too. Gene Roddenberry's wife was Counselor Troy, and she had a huge influence over a lot of the direction of the show too.
Well, and the other thing is that a lot of
Miriam Curtis was sorry, I apologize. Miriam Curtis was his wife.
Oh, I'm sorry. She was Roxana Troy, the mother of.
Majel. Oh, I forgot her name. Majel or something. She was the voice of the computer as well, and she was also in the original series.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, Roberta.
It's okay. But one of the other things is, a lot of people who complain about post Roddenberry, it's like Star Trek stayed pretty good. A lot of the best episodes of Star Trek are, including Deep Space Nine. Including TNG, a lot of the best Picard speeches and moral dilemmas and all that stuff came like post Roddenberry. Like, don't get me wrong, a lot of Roddenberry did a lot, but I think the what happened was the essence of Roddenberry in Star Trek carried over to so many people that's why it kept going. After a while, it did feel like it got a little bit more serialized, and they got a little bit further away from the Roddenberry stuff. But honestly, it's like you also have a TV show, and and as I said in the beginning, Roddenberry's vision for the future, albeit nice, is not realistic, and I think that's kind of what people were looking for. That's why eventually they did introduce like the Cardassians in there, and a lot of these other issues. But I still think the moral compass of the show was still being held by Roddenberry's vision, because it was just so strong, and he surrounded himself with people who believed his same vision, and that's why it lasted so long. Now, a lot of people say that current Trek is not very Roddenberry. Well, also it's kind of ran by Paramount, so I still think that there's a lot of good in some of the current Trek, but yes, it is more serialized. It is more for the average viewer. And although I don't think that's a bad thing, I also think it's a double-edged sword. Whereas, because Star Trek is always going to be Star Trek. The times are changing, it's never going to be the same. So, would Roddenberry's Star Trek survive in today's society? Possibly, because look at the Orville. But then again, Orville only lasted 2 seasons. It had one hiccup, and now we're questioning if it's even coming back. So, it's not like there's that strong of a demand for Orville that, it's popular and it's good.
I felt no hiccup personally. I think Orville is fantastic. It's the Star Trek I've been wanting for a long time.
Yeah, I get that.
And I'm not saying it's bad at all. I love Orville. I watched every single episode. I thought it was great. But that's the closest thing today to Roddenberry's vision of what the future should be, at least close enough. Obviously there's the comedy thrown in there. Obviously there's the McFarlane isms and everything that's in there. But at the same time, I mean, I feel like Orville is a little bit more of a realistic hybrid of Roddenberry's vision versus where we're heading as a society now. Because in Orville, you know, they do have money still. They have credits, like every other futuristic thing. You know, I mean, they still have, like, you know, not everything is peachy keeney, and, you know, there's still divorce. There's still, you know, starvation they've talked about in the show. So, you know, there's still all those moral dilemmas. But, you know, I agree. I mean, I think that the Orville right now is the closest thing to Roddenberry's vision. But at the same time, you know,
I take this a little off of track here. I don't mean to derail the discussion, but have you guys seen Space Force yet on Netflix?
I have.
That's amazing, isn't it? That's what I think we're going. Mix of that and Deep Space Nine is what we're going towards. I think eventually, if we survive that long.
Oh, you mean like as a society?
Yes.
Or living on a spaceship, like Wally.
No, he's saying like kind of what society's going towards, like the show Space Force, which is a comedy show on Netflix.
Is that Steve Carell?
Yeah. Oh, it's a great show. I watched, and John Malkovich.
Oh, it is fantastic.
Okay. You're the first people I've heard say it's good because some of the reviews on it were quite bad, so I just ignored it.
Don't listen to the reviews. You know, you kind of have to. There's plenty. I mean, you guys know this. There's plenty of crap that I like that no one else likes. So I mean, you just kind of have to go with, you know, what your guts. I mean, if you watch 2 episodes and you're like, this is still garbage, then maybe don't watch anymore. Because I think within 2 episodes, you kind of know what you're in for. You know, and then so if at that point you're like, I don't know about this, then maybe. But
I will say this: so Steve Carell does a damn good performance in that.
And there's a lot of heart in it too. It's kind of like the Orville, where it's like it's got the comedy, but it's like it's also got a lot of heart in it.
Yeah, which is what shows need nowadays. Need that balance. I'm actually a big fan of Lower Decks. It's only had 3 episodes, and it's something I highly, highly recommend you start getting yourself into.
I've heard it's pretty good. I haven't seen any episodes yet.
You would, man. There were so many people when that first episode came out were screaming that it was so bad. It's like, but now all of a sudden, 2 to 3 episodes in, they're gone. It's like, you guys just want to.
Because they're invested in it now.
Yeah, well, that's because they just want to scream about it and get clicks on YouTube. It's like, God, like.
Oh, you're talking about like YouTube reviewers and such?
Well, and just like I mean, just all these people just screaming that it's terrible, and it's like, I don't think it's bad at all. Like
the funny thing, I'm not sure if Gene Roddenberry would approve, but this is the first time in a long time that I've really looked forward to my Star Trek. Like, I kind of soldiered on with Enterprise, didn't like it that much. First season of Discovery, midway through, it was okay, but it was a bit of a slog initially. It was Star Trek, didn't feel like Star Trek, and I'm okay with it now, but I'm not gagging for season 3, even though it left on a great cliffhanger. And I still have to watch Picard. So, yeah, exactly. So this is the Star Trek I look forward to. You only get like 25 minutes worth, but my God, does it feel like Star Trek?
I love how you guys are discussing the show Picard like, you know, you're going to the dentist to get your wisdom teeth pulled or something.
Well, Roberto liked it. Roberto liked it, but I personally have to still soldier on with it, and I will. I promise you, I will. I have to watch it because it is Star Trek, and I need to keep up with every ounce of fucking lore. Because apart from Picard, I've seen all of Star Trek, and it can't end with me not watching Picard. I have to see that shit.
I enjoyed Picard well enough. I mean, what is it the best Star Trek? No, but is it a good like character? I don't even say character study, but like, is it a good character story of Jean-Luc, like older Jean-Luc Picard? Yeah, I think it is. If you go into it thinking, okay, this is not Trek, this is us following Jean-Luc as a character, not like Star Trek, whatever. You know what I mean? If you go into it thinking that, then you're going to be fine. If you go into it thinking like, oh, this should be Star Trek, you're going to be disappointed.
Now, I actually was, until recently, I would agree with you, but one of my issues is that this thing about the Romulans not liking artificial intelligence is bullshit, because I posted something on Nerd Nation the other day proving that not to be the fucking case. And this is what pisses me off, because I expect the writers to know better, and we're just getting people who are just finding bits here and there. Oh, let's get Picard, he's popular, make a show out of him and stuff like that. Just grabbing bits here and there and trying to make something out of nothing, and they don't even know that they're not even acknowledging the fact that this shit is going to be squashed by the history of previous shows. It's very, very frustrating. I don't know how you feel.
Grab, blasts from the past. Why not grab the actor who played Jake Sisko on Deep Space Nine and have him, doing his thing in Louisiana where he's opening up this really great restaurant or something? Because that's what he was doing after that show.
Actually,
apparently.
I mean, I would definitely support a Jake Sisko show.
I would too.
But I don't know if I'd want it to be based on Earth. I would probably want it to be like, I mean, something that takes place out in space. But I'm still clamoring.
Put him on Picard.
You could, Jake Sisko.
Jake Sisko's not going to draw you a show, but Jake Sisko, older, the same actor as well. He must be in his 40s now. You know what I mean? Put him on fucking Thingy. Perfect. In my opinion, that's how you use it. Actually, bring back Will Wheaton. He's ideal now as Wesley Crusher. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's why I kind of.
Didn't Wesley merge with some kind of alien supermind or something like that and become some kind of weird entity or whatever?
Yeah, but he can come back. I mean, you saw what's her face come back when she went gallivanting with Q. So I mean, Wesley just went with the Traveler.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I think he should. I think they should just say Wesley came back and became a Starfleet commander or something like that. Or maybe they find him in season 2.
No, he should be a captain. He's such a genius that he would have elevated himself to captain by now.
Well, probably. I mean, you're probably right. But I mean, I would love it if season 2 more. You had Jake Sisko on it. You had 7 of 9 on it.
That would be great.
Will Wheaton. Who else can we throw in there?
Archer's dog.
No, we're not doing Archer's dog. Archer's dog is dead.
Maybe an older pal.
Would she still be alive at that point? She'd be really old at that point. 250? Maybe more?
Maybe. I'm not so sure.
Dust.
But I mean, I kind of do. Or have Kate Mulgrew kind of come back for a cameo, as Admiral Janeway, or, just retired Janeway. I don't know.
Retired Janeway would be better.
How about somebody from Discovery?
I'm surprised Janeway hadn't been thrown underneath a prison friggin' colony or something like that for all the shit she did.
Mate, she'll escape from it, no problem. She's too canny.
She'd be like, "There's coffee on the other side of that prison wall."
I know, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, Harry Kim, bring him back and actually give him a character arc on the whole entirety of Voyager.
Oh, we don't need Harry Kim.
That would be good.
No, Harry Kim deserves justice. I'm sorry. He's not a great character because the show made him not a great character because he didn't do anything. He didn't rank up.
You don't bring Harry Kim. You bring Torres' daughter. Torres and Paris' daughter. They had a daughter at the end of on the final episode. You find out they have a daughter, and they had the daughter on the fucking ship. What am I on about? Sorry, my bad. They had the daughter on Voyager. So yeah, bring back B'Elanna Torres' kid. That'll be pretty cool. See, these are the ones. That's how you do it, my friend. And then you could bring back Dr. Phlox. Yeah, yeah. You can. There's not much known about his race. His alien species.
He's on his 530th wife.
Yeah, exactly. And he could live for a long time.
So what are we talking about here? Star Trek or friggin' Highlander? What the hell?
The Picard, actually. But yeah, imagine just grabbing all these people. You could even, look, theoretically, you could grab somebody from, no, you couldn't grab somebody from Michael Burnett from the Discovery timeline. That's just way too far back. That's over 100 years.
But yet you want Phlox.
Also, you're starting to venture into the timey-wimey stuff that Doctor Who talks about.
Oh, we're not talking Kelvin here, but we're not talking to Kelvin timeline. But you're right. The reason why I want Phlox is because we don't know how long his alien species live for. I believe. I might have to Wikipedia that shit, but that can just change like that. You know, so
we call that a retrophaser. Psst.
Was there any other aliens apart from T'Pol? It was just floating human aliens. Yeah.
Tuvok. I mean,
wait, is Tuvok like half Vulcan or something like that?
Tuvok's full on Vulcan.
It's unfortunate the actor who played Nog has died, because he would be a good person to come back.
Who?
You know, the actor who played Nog.
Oh yeah, I heard about.
Oh, I would love Nog to show up.
Yeah, he died last year, which is like I had no idea.
Yeah,
you know,
that is one of the best character arcs in Star Trek. Period.
Oh, it is. I loved how he became the first Ferengi officer in Starfleet, and then lost his arm and wound up being a lounge singer or something like that.
His leg and the lounge singer. That was his dad. That was Rom.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I get that mixed up.
DS9 is my favorite show, man. I know. Like,
no, I get it. I get it. Believe me.
Rom's wife. Oh my god, he hit a home run with that. Seriously, I forgot the name of the actress, but she was gorgeous. That Bajoran girl. Jesus
Lita.
Christ. Was that her name? Yeah, yeah. She could hurricane run on me anytime, man.
All right, so back on topic. What are we talking about?
No, we kind of just basically talking everything Star Trek here when it came to Gene Roddenberry. So we're just going all over. We're just going all over the place. Initially, it was just about who we would like to see in Picard, and we're just basically picking everybody from every show and who's a possibility. But do you think Gene Roddenberry would be happy with where Star Trek has gone now?
I don't think so. I think that he was very clear and concise about his vision, and ultimately, unfortunately, for a TV show, I think that would have been the demise of Star Trek. As I said, as a TV show, Star Trek needed to evolve, and I mean, and I'm talking back in the 90s. I'm talking like them evolving into DS9 and Voyager, you know, and even Enterprise, which I know some of you don't like, but I liked it. And I think that Gene Roddenberry would not have been okay with the vision. Like, I don't think he honestly would have been that okay with Deep Space Nine. I think
I have to disagree with you there. I think he would have been.
Okay.
Very political.
Because Gene Roddenberry, it looked like it was all about, you know, exploring new cultures, brave new worlds, stuff like that. And now you have this very closer look into the Ferengi, who were supposed to be the original big bads instead of the Klingons, if you remember. Because, but he would have loved that, I think. Just the world building and the lore building aspect of it.
He might have been. I tend to think he would not have greenlit a lot of Deep Space Nine. But I could be wrong. I mean, I didn't know the man personally, so I don't know. But as I said, I mean, but still, there was a lot of the same issues and a lot of the same things that carried over into later TNG, Deep Space Nine. Voyager, I would say, was very, very light on their controversial topics and stuff like that. That was more DS9 territory, where Voyager was just kind of like, I don't think they hit too many controversial topics on Voyager, but Voyager is one of my least favorites. So
I think with DS9 is one of my favorites. I think Gene Roddenberry would have been a little leery about the Bajoran religious stuff that was going on in that show a bit, because he didn't really strike me as a very religious guy. So you wouldn't probably have had the prophets from Bajor and stuff like that.
But there's actually a great episode in Deep Space Nine that portrays that, where even Kira Nerys, the Bajoran commander, major on the station, even said, she said, you know, she even admitted, she said, you know, I believe in the prophets. She said, I believe in these, what you call the wormhole aliens. And that's, I think, the first time she ever called them wormhole aliens. But she was basically saying, like, I know that, you know, whatever they are, you know, whatever they are, you know, I believe in them, and it's a part of me, and it's a part of my, and, you know, I think, honestly, I think Roddenberry would have been more okay with that than some of the darker tones that DS9 took.
Especially Cisco, my God. I mean, some of the stuff he did as well.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he would want that from a captain.
And I don't think there would have been a Dominion War in DS9 if Roddenberry was still at the helm. I mean, I think there might have been a Dominion, but I think that before war broke out, I think there would have been like resolution before the war even started. There wouldn't have been a war. They would have peacefully figured something out, or at least standoffishly figured something out. I don't think there would have been an all-out war.
Let's overlook at some of the things that he did do apart from the original series. He was around when the movies were initially being made, and there was a lot of controversial things in the films. I think the second and third ones had the most controversial things with the death of Spock, but they already set up that he was going to come back by the end of the second film.
Yeah, that was all shipped as a trilogy. So I mean, they knew he was coming back.
Well, they purposely left it open, which was very clever of them. It was just about how they were going to figure it out, and they figured it out well. But then they ended up killing David Kirk, James Kirk's son, which was I'm sure Gene Roddenberry would have been fine with that, I guess, because he let that happen. But
I'd say he was still around when that happened.
Yeah, and we obviously Christopher Lloyd's performance. I think I always tell people forget how important Christopher Lloyd was playing the Klingon. He
was so good in that role.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was an awesome Klingon.
Absolutely fantastic, and he defined Klingons that they don't give a fuck about dying. They want to fucking fight. They'll kill you first, and they're happy to die doing it. And he gave that impression, and that all stemmed from Gene Roddenberry as well, allowing that to happen. Creating these characters, giving them more depth. The villains as well, expanding on these alien races the way he did in those films. And then he came back to Earth a little bit, and no pun intended, with Star Trek 4. That is one of the most lighthearted of all Star Treks, and they needed to be after all the gloom and doom of 2 and 3, which is why I understand they went down that particular route. But this trilogy of films, it really emboldens the idea of a series as well, because that's what we were watching back in the day. And then we had this in the movies because, now they're using the Klingon ship and they're going to Earth and the time travel and stuff. And then obviously Kirk having to come back and explain himself for stealing the Enterprise in the first place, as well as destroying it in Star Trek 3. It's brilliant. It's brilliant, and this is all Roddenberry's vision, just there. It's just fantastic. I don't know what more to say. This guy has made something that, for me, will stick with me forever. But before we end this stream, but I think we've spoken a lot, I just want to ask you guys, do you think Star Trek has legs? Do you think it can still go on? I mean, because, at the end of the day, if there's not new people watching it and embracing it like we have, it's not going to go very far, is it?
That's the thing, is that it's a TV show. I mean, the concept of Star Trek in today's day and age is not conducive to the average viewer. So I mean, the only way Star Trek is going to get legs is if they do something different, like Lower Decks, like Discovery, even like Picard. And I know pretty much the people screaming that they don't like it are the people who've been screaming that they want more Trek. And but I don't think that I really don't think that there's. I don't know how to say it.
Well, the thing is, they don't want more Trek; they want their Trek.
Yeah,
or of the same, which is what's going to slowly strangle it. Really, you see that with Star Wars. In fact, you see it with the Mandalorian and things of that nature. It's just slowly putting a triangle chokehold on the franchise. That's kind of what I see happening to Star Trek a little bit. If they're able to do something like another DS9 or something like that, where it's more focusing on a big picture than just like little bitty things, then I think it has a chance.
I think personally, they need to kind of go back to what made Star Trek popular in the first place. We've had the discussion before between episodic and serialized, but I would like to see a bit more of that, as well as maybe a couple of shows running at the same time. I mean, CW is doing it now with several shows all in the same universe, and they have crossovers. It's nice sometimes when TNG and DS9 were running at the same time, you had a little bit of crossover. When Voyager and DS9 were running at the same time, you had a little bit of crossover, like the Doctor who was on DS9, for instance, playing as an engineer who created the holographic Doctor in the first place. You love all that shit. I want to see a couple of shows running side by side in the same universe with a little bit of crossover. That was the golden period, as far as I was concerned, during those years, during that timeline. There was so much shit going on, and we need something like that again. Bring that back. That's what we want. That's Star Trek. That is fundamental Star Trek. And if they just understood what works, they would make something right.
Well, and I mean, that's kind of why I like Brave New Worlds. I currently, since who knows what's going on with the Discovery after season 2, Yeah,
I agree with you.
Strange New Worlds, I think, is going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure everyone's going to crap on it because Trek fans are just as toxic as Star Wars fans most times. And if it's not,
I kind of disagree with you. They're not quite as toxic as Star Wars fans. Holy hell, Star Wars fans go crazy.
Okay. Well, and Star Wars is more secular too. So of course you get like the media explosion with Star Wars. Rather, Star Trek doesn't get the media attention Star Wars does. But I agree. I would love more crossover. I would love more post-Nemesis stuff, like Picard timeline stuff, like where you have Picard running, and then you have another show running that's like right around that time, and then you could have a crossover episode where Picard runs into whomever on whatever show. I do kind of wish that Discovery, instead of going 900 years in the future from their timeline or whatever it is, that they went just to the Picard timeline, and then they're in the early 25th century. Because I think Picard took place in 2499, I believe. So I kind of wish that Discovery would have went there. So then Picard and Discovery kind of ran concurrent rather than apart from one another. Because now you have to worry about what happens in Picard. Will it ever affect, which 700 years is a long time, but like, will it ever, will something ever retcon something they do in Discovery, ever retcon something they did in Picard or vice versa? So, I agree with you. I would love more crossover. I loved it when there was 2 shows running at once. And I think with the streaming, they have that opportunity. I think I wouldn't mind there being a, like kind of like the Mandalorian, where you're following mercenaries rather than, outside of your basic Federation. You get to see the underbelly of the Star Trek galaxy, the Star Trek universe.
I wouldn't mind that. Following it, like maybe the Marquee.
Yeah, even well, we'd have to figure out, because the Maquis were essentially wiped out. So you'd have to have something other than the Maquis. But it's something like the Maquis. I'd agree.
It could be a different timeline, but.
No, well, yeah. Then you're getting into timelines.
Ferengi criminal syndicate or something like that, like something seedy in Star Trek. Dirty it up a little bit, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Well, look, we're getting Strange New Worlds, and obviously that's in the same timeline as Discovery, even though Discovery's gone 900 years in the future now. I personally believe they're going to do the cop-out thing, where they're going to snap their fingers, and within a couple of minutes, they'll be back in the normal time again, and everything's fucking sorted, because they can do shit like that in films with just a little twist and turn and a bit of sci-fi jargon, and Bob's your uncle. You're back.
Q could have a bad day or something like that. Just snap his fingers and like, oh,
yeah, exactly. So, my point is that you have an opportunity now to have 2 shows in the same timeline running side by side, and that's what we kind of want again in Star Trek. I'm looking forward to Strange New World, because hopefully they're going to go back to their roots a little bit. I hope this is what we get, but at the same time, this is a prequel. I would like something post Voyager or post Picard, or during that period where it's a bit more modern times regarding the Star Trek universe. I'm kind of done with the past a little bit, because this whole thing with Strange New Worlds is that a lot of it is just finding all the little details, which is going to lead to the ultimate demise of Captain Pike. And that's what that show is going to be about, really. but I'm just yabbering on. I do apologize.
Yeah,
I want to wrap
Captain Pike been dead for a while though, according to the canon.
Yeah, but in Strange New Worlds, it's 10 years before the original series.
I'm getting you. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
So it's going to follow Pike and his early early years on the Enterprise. Yeah,
Spock's going to be there as well. A new actor's playing Spock.
Which honestly, I like him.
So, I mean, yeah.
I want to see Spock touch those flowers again and see him smile again after touching those flowers.
I mean, and then Rebecca Romaine is playing number 1, so I think that's going to. I mean, Mystique herself.
Mystique herself. She's a good actress. It'll be interesting to see her.
That one, actually.
Have you not seen? You seen Discovery?
Doesn't sound like it.
I've seen like a little bit of it here and there.
It's a bit of a slog initially, but it does get better.
This after the second half of season 1, it's really good. Like if you can make it through the first couple episodes, it is very I don't know. It's a slog. I think is the only thing that I can really describe it as.
A few of the episodes are it has that classic Star Trek vibe about it in the first season as well. But you have to get through the first few episodes initially, and then after that, once you kind of get an idea of the format of the show, and you could just breeze through it. It's not a problem.
Yeah, I can slog through a couple hours, no time.
Yeah. Well, I hope regarding the future of Star Trek, it does have a future. I want Star Trek as possible. Nothing when it comes to television is as bountiful as Star Trek. We've been spoiled over the years with hundreds of episodes of various shows, and unfortunately the quality of what we've been getting is not up to the standards for some. I can totally understand that. But we want as much Star Trek as possible. I'll never get fed up with Star Trek, and I'm always happy when there's news of new shows being made or shows being extended. Star Trek needs to go on for as long as possible. This is some of the best stuff. But the heart of Star Trek, the Gene Roddenberry side of Star Trek, must be never forgotten, because I do feel that those elements are starting to be lost in the razzmatazz of Star Trek. There's too much razzmatazz, and it needs to be a bit more grounded, a bit more contained. And as we've already seen with Discovery, the best episodes are the ones which feel more like an episodic episode than part of a serial. And there's something into that. And maybe the people at Paramount should fucking understand that. I've got nothing more to say on this. It's been a great stream. We've kind of gone longer than we wanted to. Have you guys got any more to say on these topics?
Nope. Hope everybody likes the new logo. Yeah.
I just want to say I hope they do a Ferengi-centered episode sometime. I love those guys.
Well, they do. They did a lot of that in DS9, obviously.
I know. That's why I love DS9 so much.
And the actors who played the Ferengis were fantastic actors as well.
Oh yeah, all the Ferengi episodes are great, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this is what Star Trek needs to understand again. Just get back to basics a little bit, and you're going to hit a home run. I swear to God. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Nerd Nation. Follow us on Facebook as well. Look for the logo if you find more than one Nerd Nation. The logo we have on our YouTube is the logo we have on our Facebook. Take care, everyone.